PLT, OTC, clear caution warning memory, verify no unexpected errors.
Special alert. Looks great. OTC PLT, the caution warning is clear with no unexpected errors.
Copy PLT. And with that, Columbia, OTC, I'd like to wish you all a very successful 2 weeks on orbit, and with that, close and lock your visors and initiate O2 flow.
Roger, thanks Randy, and initiating O2 flow. Okay, everybody, tabs in, visors down, CO2 on. Give me a comm checker on the horn.
PLT loud and clear.
That's one, loud and clear. 2, loud and clear.
3 loud and clear. And there's 4 loud and clear.
One, loud and clear.
All right, got you all the same.
30 seconds.
Minute and a half.
Jim, were you going to take down that right shade, or you want to leave it? The right shade. Yeah.
I wanted to remind you of it.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yep.
One minute.
1 minute.
Gotta start with the shake of your life here.
Yep.
TLS is good for auto sequence start. 25. 20. 15. 10.
Having it. Here we go.
TLS is good for entry start.
100. 300. SC3 and 104.
Roger that. Houston, Columbia, roll program. OVLH.
Roger, roll, Columbia.
Over first stage.
That is that cool.
Oh, wow, look at that.
Throttle.
Great. Coming back. Seconds.
Less than 50. Three.
Over second stage.
Kimiko. Looks good, your display.
Roger that.
Okay, you may open your visors, CO2 off, and open your visors if you want.
is coming down. Hello 60.
Climbing Houston, performance nominal.
Performance nominal.
Awesome.
Okay, 2 minutes 45.
Columbia, 2-engine banjo.
2-engine banjo.
Yeah.
Guidance looks great. I see the treads. Just a minute on VFS, please. Okay, you can have it back. Looks good.
Around the horn.
3 minutes. VFRT?
So about 40 degrees.
Looks wonderful.
Yes, sir.
Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Overcut. Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully I'm not going all Discordy at the moment, but I think we're okay. Yes, good. Okay, guys, how's it going tonight? Ben, are you there, mate? Hello? Can anyone hear me? Okay, I can hear me.
Hello?
Ah! This is going so well. Can you hear me? Okay, I'll just keep talking. I think Ben might be having the issue that I've just had. I can hear him typing. Okay, he's not hearing me in Discord. Okay, brilliant. Bear with me 2 ticks.
Hello?
Hey, Ben.
Can see reflections of
Okay,
the,
Ben's just completely disconnected. So anyway, welcome to the Overcut. I'll keep talking. We'll see if Ben comes back. Welcome to the Overcut. It's a little bit of a special one tonight. The 2019 season has started, yeah. Except maybe not the racing action, but still, we've got plenty of topics to talk about tonight. We're going to have a nice little preview of the 2019 WTF1 GPVWC Superleague season. We'll go through all 15 teams who, well, I think there's just 2 teams that haven't confirmed their full lineups at the moment, but we'll be able to go through all the teams anyway and have a good old chin wag about each of them. Maybe have a little prediction at the end of it all. As always, just drop us a line on either the YouTube channel, on Discord, or, for the first time ever, give us a drop on Facebook as well. Facebook. Magic. We're going a bit all modern and dual social mediaing. Nice, not too bad. Cool. So GPVWC. A little bit's happened since our previous show about a month ago, and that is the engine tender's been decided, which we'll have a chat about in a moment. Let me just quickly see if we can get Ben back in. Hello, Ben.
Hello. Is it working?
Is he back?
Perfect.
Ben, I was so lonely.
I was panicking. I could hear you on YouTube and not on Discord. It was quite strange.
Amazing. Okay, Ben. So, everyone, this is Ben Horrill. He's co-hosting with me once again. I think it's a permanent gig now, mate, and there's no getting out of it now.
Yeah, I'm trapped again.
Yes.
So, yeah.
How are you this fine evening?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm really looking forward to the shot show. We've got a lot to go over. So, yeah, absolutely.
I think we do. Excellent. Right. So, whilst the connection is happy, let's crack on. So, I was just saying to everyone about how the engine tenders actually finally been decided. So, GPVWC Super League has engine manufacturers who each supply the rest of the grid with products of varying degrees of performance and qualities. Each can have their own unique R&D paths. They can go about it however they want. And we had a space available, didn't we, Ben?
Yeah, it's quite interesting actually. The whole how the engine tender actually all sort of panned out. We got a new engine manufacturer came in, and we had obviously the 3 existing ones split amongst the teams, and it is quite an interesting split this year. Actually, it wasn't something I was expecting. So yeah.
Yeah. So we had a few teams apply for this vacant engine tender. I think there was 3 in the end. My team was certainly one, Epic. I believe Red Archer also put an application in, and the eventual winners was EDONIS Engineering, run by Menno Quant. So they will be supplying the 4th engine tender this year. What's the name of that again, Ben?
Reventon. Is it Reventon?
Reventon. Yeah. Literally 10 minutes before the stream started, I was like, what's the name of their engine again? I can't remember. Yada, yada. I forgot already. Reventon. Excellent. So yeah, there's the 4th engine on the grid this year. Looking forward to seeing how they get on. Be very interesting to see what sort of route they take, whether it would have been similar to what we were planning if we got the green light, but hey, never mind. There's no sour grapes with me, at least.
No hard feelings or
no hard feelings. Yeah. If I do sound that way, that's not on purpose, I promise you. Good. So the 4 engine tenders then are Valiant, which is run by the ACI Zaxspeed team. You got Quasar, which is run by the Edge Esports team, and you've got the Talos, run by the Hawkeye team. Now, as Ben alluded to, the spread amongst the grid for the engine manufacturers was a little bit unexpected. Do you want to take that away first, Ben? Do you want to give us a bit more detail?
Yeah, sure, why not? So we'll start right at the top. Reigning champions ACR put a little description. You get a description when able to sort of sell your engine. ACR very abruptly put, "We don't want your business. Please disappear." In kinder words than
yeah.
than that.
It was a masterclass in reverse psychology, shall we say?
Yeah, absolutely. So naturally, everybody flocked to that engine. So they have, instead of just having sort of the 1 or 2 teams that they wanted, I think they now have, is it 8 teams on their engine supply now?
Right, yeah. Including our teams.
Including our teams, yeah. So Epic and Streetfighter. I think there's Evolution as well, but they went for it.
Yeah.
Red Archer, just about everybody that wasn't a manufacturer already went for it. I mean, but there's a silver lining. Mike's got a lot of money out of it, so they might not have wanted the profit. Might not have wanted the customers, but they got plenty of profit. And every team, I think knows that they're not getting any support throughout the season. It's just take the engine as it comes, kind of thing for the Valiant engine.
Yep. Which I think is great. We don't have to worry about the engine.
I wasn't opposed to it at all. It's actually one of the selling points for our decision. We can put all of our time into car dev, not worry about providing information for the engine.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And we only have to pay 1.5 million more. Thank you very much.
Good. And then the Quasar was picked up by MADCAPE. So they are the first ever customer team for Quasar, because Quasar didn't have anyone sign up for them last year, did they?
Yeah, Edge ran Lone Wolf last year, which worked out very well for them. It was a very good engine, actually. I'm quite surprised that more people didn't go towards Quasar. I think it was the case of Valiant is a proven quantity, and it was quite cheap compared to the other engines. So, if you got something that's proven and you're willing to pay a little bit of a premium for it, you're gonna take it every time.
Yep.
So yeah, Quasar and MADCAPE, that's an interesting one. I don't know how much MADCAPE are going to help with the development of that engine, or if Edge are just going to sort of lone wolf it in.
I have a funny feeling it might be the same sort of setup as Valiant, just not so public.
Yeah. Engine. Use it if you like.
Yeah.
Don't get any say in it.
Sort it out. Yeah. Good. And then we got Talos, and they've been picked up by one of the new teams in YTF1. And was there a 3rd team for Talos? No, it was Reventon. That's 3 teams, isn't it? Yeah. So it's just YTF1 that are joining Hawkeye with the Talos engine. Yeah,
so that's quite an interesting partnership as well. New team, YTF1 is a customer.
Yep.
So far, haven't confirmed, I don't think, a second driver or a reserve driver. I think they're just running on emergency contracts at the minute.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if that's going to be worrying the Hawkeye team. Obviously, you've got the Hawkeye team are really experienced. Rick's really experienced with running the league and building an engine and things. So I'm sure he'll be fine, even if he doesn't get a lot of support from WTF1. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I want to see how that engine compares to Quasar.
Yeah, that'll be a close one. Yeah, I think you're right.
I think that's going to be an interesting battle on the engine dev side. But yeah, we'll see how it shapes up. I think it'll be an interesting battle to follow throughout the season.
Good. And then, so obviously with Venton, new engine, and they actually managed to pick up a couple of customers as well. So they must have had a really good pitch, and two of the teams believed in them, and that's MEASURIC Racing and Storm Racing Team.
Yeah, that's. I think everybody knew. If you know a bit of sort of GPVWC in the background, you knew the MEASURIC team were going to go with them for that. That was one you instantly put in that category. Storm was not expecting Storm to go there. If that's the one that did surprise me with all the bids. That is the one that surprised me that Storm went to Venton. I had them picked as a sort of valiant customer.
You reckon?
Yeah, I think they were. If I was a Storm manager, I'd be looking for any sort of tenths I could gain, and if I could gain a little bit with the engine and not have to worry about the supply, worry about the development, I would have gone with it. But maybe they're struggling for cash, and they went with quite a sizably cheaper option in with Venton. So we don't know, and we'll have to ask them later on. Actually,
Good. So we're about to start the team by team preview. Before we do so, obviously, like I said, start getting in touch with everything like that. We've got quite a few people on the YouTube stream already. So hi, everyone who's taking part at the moment. David Carter saying Pittman rolling in the money. Someone's got a Photoshop Pittman in front of like a wad of cash, surely. Someone do that by the time we finish today, please. Good. Right then. So in my infinite wisdom, I won't drag you down with me for here. I decided to randomize the order of the teams for previewing.
I'm glad I'm not being sort of put in on that one. It wasn't my idea. Yeah. It was a floated idea that I said, why not?
You didn't stop me, Ben. So my producer, bless him, Dan, he's going to have to stay on his toes a wee bit whilst we go along, because Dan's not actually involved in GPVWC, so he doesn't know the team too well and stuff like that. So you'll have to bear with us perhaps when the slides come up and everything, but he's a pro. He'll get it done, don't you worry. Okay, so the first team we are going to look at is MEASURIC Racing. MEASURIC Racing. So MEASURIC Racing joined Super League last year, didn't they? That was their debut year.
Yeah.
And they kept their heads just above water, I think is fair to say. They finished the season in 12th place on 59 points. It felt like they relied a lot on Dino Paolini for their performances. And they've managed to keep hold of him for 2019 as well. I think, would you agree that was absolutely pivotal?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much key to their survival in Super League. If he has a season like he did last year, obviously if he has a couple of bad races and the car's not great, it's not going to help him, grab those much needed points. But Whoopke's a decent driver as well. Maybe got a little bit too much stick last season for his finishes, but It's a case of they haven't got two super reliable drivers. They've got one very reliable driver.
Yep.
And if they get the most out of him, you're golden. You're going to be sort of in and amongst it most races. But is that going to be enough throughout the season? That would be the concern I'd have.
I agree with you there. I mean, I have a very big soft spot for Wopke. He drove for me back in the junior series. But you're right. When you're in that kind of position of like the back end of the midfield, you want to get the scraps that are left on your plate sort of thing. You want those two drivers that are capable of just taking the opportunity by the scruff of the neck, don't you? And you kind of look at the driver line like, yeah, please. But they're a lovely team, and Mike Schroeten's an excellent guy. We go way back, so I'm hopeful that MEASURIC can improve on the 12th place that they achieved last year. I think that the potential is there. There's obviously the big question mark over the new engine, but again, that could also be a match made in heaven. That could kick things off for them. It could bump them right up into the midfield proper, which I think is probably a fair target for them.
Yeah, potentially. And I mean, we've got Liam who's going to change teams at some point during the season. He may end up at MEASURIC, so maybe that's what they're after. Got to get a cheap dig in pretty quick.
Yeah, that was very that was impressive.
Very early for that
it was
one.
A new record. Good. We haven't actually got anyone from MEASURIC to speak to, so obviously if anyone's got any comments on MEASURIC's chances and everything like that, do give us a bell on the chat. What do you make of Mike Schroeton? He's not really around much on the community page and stuff like that, but at the same time, it's hard to doubt that MEASURIC's rise through the ranks is very well done, and their place in Super League is well deserved.
Yeah, they've been impressive in the junior categories, and they've been around for a while, haven't they? I think they've been around before I have. When I came into Formula Challenge back in 2013, they were there as well. So they've been around for a while, and it's nice to see those teams that have stuck around for so many years finally make it into Super League and to be able to stay there and be somewhat competitive. It'd be nice if we had a couple more like that have been around for a while, but it's sim racing. It's still essentially a hobby. It hasn't quite smashed through into a full-time esport, so we can't expect
hashtag esports.
Yeah, we it's bits and bobs breaking through, but until it's become sort of fully professional, I don't think you're going to see teams that are there for like 10, 20 years. Norwegian was the exception.
Nords.
Yeah, gotta mention Nords every chance we get. Bless them. Yeah. But yeah, I really like it. It's a bit of history. It's similar to like Williams in Formula One, seeing those sort of teams. I'd be heartbroken if Williams ever left Formula One, and I'd be the same with MEASURIC. But they've got to put the performances in.
Correct.
Sometimes the performances.
Okay, so a lot of people are loving your Liam quip. So you're gonna have to keep that up, mate. I'm afraid that's it. You've dug that hole. Mate. David Carr, not got huge expectations of MEASURIC. I'll be honest, low end of the points, which is kind of where they were last year as well, wasn't it? I think the stat that always sticks in my head was that they had so many points finishes, but only 3 of them were in the top 10 or something like that.
Yeah, so, a scrappy team at the scrapping around the lower end of the points, which it may be enough to keep them up, depending on how competitive everywhere else is.
Good. Right then, let's move on to team number 2 then. So team number 2 is EDONIS Engineering. We already touched on their off-season. It got a lot busier for them when they got selected as the 4th engine tender. But with Menno Klont at the helm, I'm sure it's something that he can not just handle, but embrace and get his teeth really stuck into. What do you make of Menno?
I like Menno. I do like Menno a lot, actually. He's helped me quite a bit in GPV. When I took my first pole position in Super Cup, Italy, 2014 or 15, Menno was the first person to congratulate me. So that always stuck to me, and Menno's always been just a super nice guy to have around. But onto his team, EDONIS Engineering, or more precisely, PESCARA EDONIS Engineering. Right. New title sponsorship for this season. So it's nice to see more teams.
What do you make of that? 'Cause that's another sim team, isn't it? So do you reckon that's a sign of the 2 teams working together, or is it purely just their names tagged on? They might have a driver in the seat, etc.
I'm not sure. I know there's been a couple of sim racing teams sponsored by other sim racing teams. I think PESCARA are quite big in sort of FSR, and that's where their drivers have sort of came from. Obviously, talking of drivers, we've got Eros Mashuli, who's no stranger to GPVWC. So yeah, it's on the right track. I think as Mark's just mentioned in the chat, both drivers are from PESCARA, so that's where that's coming from. Maybe EDONIS was struggling for drivers, sort of a semi-merger. Maybe we'll see it as PESCARA Engineering next season.
Exactly. That's what I'm wondering, is whether this was a move by PESCARA to get into Super League without necessarily having to go the long way round, perhaps.
Ooh, potentially. Be cheeky. It would be quite cheeky
A little
because
bit.
obviously EDONIS have stuck around for a little bit, got the engine tender.
I was going to say, especially as they got the engine tender. That's right. But I'm
Yeah.
not sour about that at all, Ben.
Absolutely not.
So their 2018 season, they finished in 10th with 74 points, which by Adonis' standards is pretty poor. They've been right at the front end of the pack in recent years, and so that was kind of a bit of a more bump to earth for them, shall we say. Now, we have actually got Menno lined up for a chat, so shall we bring him in and see how he feels?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's bring him in. Hello, Menno.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going, mate?
Yeah, pretty well. So yeah,
Good.
it's a bit busy with all of things in GPV, but after that, pretty good.
I think you are one of the busiest guys in GBV, so credit for you for stopping by for a few minutes to give us a quick little rundown of your lovely Adonis engineering team. So how's your pre-season gone?
Yeah, actually, pretty good. Drivers were pretty happy with the car, and yeah, they're looking forward actually to racing it in Melbourne and the other races. So they're looking really forward. It's been a very long season for the team and for the drivers. So
Already?
yeah, can't wait. Yeah, already. Yeah, we already did
been a month and a half
quite
now.
a lot, and yeah. So that's was quite good.
Good. So you've got the new engine tender. What sort of additional challenges that given you? Is that giving you even more of a workload, or was it something that you prepared well for? How are you taking that on board?
Well, yeah, that's the engine was something I really wanted for a long time. I believe the first time I tried to get the engine was in 2017 when it went to Hawkeye with Talos. Then in 2018 I tried again, and well, Walters then rebranded to Edge got it, and now the third time I got the engine. Yeah, it was something I really wanted to, and yeah, I really looked into it, what was needed for it, and yeah, in the end, yeah, we were quite prepared to get it. But yeah, it was quite difficult because you can talk with a lot of customers or potential customers, but in the end, it's difficult to yeah to get something if you don't have the engine. So yeah, when I heard I got the engine, I was really happy, and I think yeah, it was also good to see because yeah, EDONIS is one of the older teams in the league now, and yeah, I think that was one of the reasons I got the engine as well, because yeah, they know EDONIS is there for a longer time, longer period. They know how everything works, and yeah, they can be involved, or we can be involved in making a good and reliable engine with
Excellent.
the customer. Yeah.
Good. I'm sure you guys will deliver a lovely engine as well. Yeah, I'm confident that you'll be absolutely fine on that regard. What do you think, Ben? How are you ranking Adonis in your mind?
Hopefully a return to form for Adonis for me. Like when I said, I remember the day, scrapping right at the front for a long time. It's dropped off sort of slightly last year, but I want to see Adonis back there. Menno, if you don't mind, please. Just
Yeah. Well, we're trying very hard. At least that's the plan. I think. Yeah, for what we hope to is to achieve top 5 or top 3 in the constructors. Of course, that would be something we would dream of. Yeah, of course, we all want to be champion, and that's the aim. But yeah, there are a lot of good sim racing teams in here, and yeah, let's see what we can get. Yeah, I mean, Australia would be very interesting because we don't have upgrades there, so that will be a level playing field. And afterwards, I believe the Malaysian Grand Prix, then we start with upgrading, and that will be very interesting to see how it goes from there, and what the drivers also can do, and what they will prefer with the future upgrades as well.
Yeah. Good. Last question then. With the tie-up with PESCARA, quite a big lineup you've got there as well. Do you feel added pressure this year to get Adonis back to the front?
Well, yeah. Oh, difficult question actually. I think a little bit because last year I wasn't happy. I think last year I had good drivers, but we didn't get the results in. And yeah, there was a lot of pressure on myself personally to get a good lineup. And that's yeah, it took me a while to get that complete. And yeah, and sometimes things work out. And yeah,
Good.
I got errors back. And yeah, I think. He has a history, of course, in the league, and yeah,
Good.
he could return. So that was amazing and very good.
Excellent. I'm just having a quick look at the comments whilst you're here, Menno. We've got Cenobite saying Adonis 4th this year, mark my words. David Carter thinks he might go even better than that. He's thinking 2nd or 3rd, depending on your engine development. So you've certainly got your fans still. And then Mike Pittman saying, didn't do the best job of car development last year.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I mean, if you already know a few races before that you can gain a few positions in the constructors, you rather not spend money. So yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that's a very good point.
It's all thinking 2-3 steps ahead or 5. Yeah. So that's at least my vision in it, and will be so interesting with the engine and with the car. I'm looking forward.
Great, and we are as well, Menno. Excellent. Thank you very much for stopping by.
Of course.
Always a pleasure to chat with you. Nice one. Good luck.
Okay. Bye.
Good. So, yeah, it's hard not to like Menno, isn't it? He's a good lad, and the amount of work he does around in GPVWC is quite incredible. So, I think he'll be popular if Adonis do get back towards the front end of the grid.
Yeah, if Adonis win in Melbourne, there's going to be some party within that team and around the GPVWC Discord, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be a fun Overcut episode, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we can all get drunk and celebrate Menno. That sounds perfect. Let's go.
Right, extra pressure for Menno now. Yeah. Excellent. Right then, so we're going to go on to the 3rd team on our list, and it's one of the newbies. It's the reigning Super Cup champions. I mean, champions is kind of lesser a word than what they really deserve. It is they dominated Super Cup, didn't they? When the slide comes up, look at that points total. I did not make a typo, I promise you. So SCUDERIA BASILEA, and managed by David Jan, another popular figure around GPVWC. What do you make of them?
Well, it's interesting actually. We mentioned on the last Overcup episode that they had to keep their lineup to be within their chance. They have, and that's huge. That's absolutely huge. Because of that lineup, I think that gives you, maybe at least one top 10 a race, maybe 2 in every race, and that's huge for a new team. That's that's comfortable survival for them. At the end of the day, that's great. It may even spring a surprise result. Obviously, we know they're both sort of ACR drivers, so we know they've got a little bit of support behind them using the Valiant engine, which proved last season to be arguably the best engine on the grid.
Yep.
That points total in Super Cup.
That's not a typo.
That's crazy.
I haven't put an extra 1 or 7 or anything like that. I promise you. 1,217 points.
Absolutely obliterate Super Cup.
It's astonishing, yeah.
If they can take that confidence of just and that they're used to winning, so if they're up front, they're gonna be tough to displace. They know how to lead a race. They know how to win a race. They know how to work between themselves on the racetrack as well. It's crazy.
I mean, that lineup is the reigning Super Cup champion and the Formula Challenge champion from 2 seasons ago. Yeah. If that's not pedigree, I really don't know what is, to be honest with you.
Former Streetfighter reserve as well. For the
you had to.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, all right, whatever. So, Epic's first season last year, it was a toss-up between Borja Milan and Stefan Ruot for the 2nd seat. So there, huh?
It's a good job he stayed in the Super Cup, really. So.
Right, so we've got a nice little comment here from Mike. SCUDERIA, the new Epic, right? I'm not going to bite to that. So Cenobite's actually Liam, so he is watching, Ben.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
Did you see earlier?
So he's just they're talking about Storm. I think they're tagging on about the mid-season move again. Jack Mace is on. Hey Jack, he works for me and Epic, and we go way back. He's saying silly points total. It really is. It's an incredible achievement that they managed last year. Now we were going to speak with David Junt, the team boss, but he's not around, which is a shame.
Has he disappeared on us?
He never showed up in the first place. So that's an extra place down on my prediction now. But no, I completely agree. I think relegation, they don't need to worry about relegation whatsoever. I think they'll be consistent point scorers. They're going to be a pain in the ass for all the established teams, and they're going to be ones to watch in years to come as well, I believe.
Yeah, it's a almost future-proof team, that, isn't it? Unless, we mentioned the links to other teams, unless they get picked off by, one of their, senior team kind of thing.
That's very true, because who's their reserve? Their reserve.
Oh, that's a question.
Yeah, exactly. Their reserve is Laurent Kiesemakers. Do you know him?
Can't say I've heard of him. Can't say I've heard of him.
I can't either, but cool name.
It's one you could pronounce as well. I was quite surprised, actually.
I'm pretty good with Germanic. Good, excellent. So, if David Junt does come on later, we'll try and get back in touch with him and have a little word with him and see what he thinks for the season ahead. Keep bringing your comments in, guys. We're doing really well so far. Love the job. Stefan Ruot's actually on. He's actually just answered our question. I think there might be a little bit of delay on the stream, but that's absolutely fine. Right, so let's move on to the fourth team. Now, the fourth team, big team. They're probably one of the favorites for probably top 3 again, I'd say. It's Edge Esports. Now, so far, the teams we've spoken to have had fairly ordinary pre-seasons. Edge's has been a little bit off key, would you say?
Yeah, it's not been ideal. It's been far from ideal, to put it politely, which is quite disappointing, actually. Edge, obviously, last season their car was statistically the best. They really challenged for the title with ACR, and this is not the season the pre-season they would have wanted.
Correct, yeah. So there's still a question mark over the second seat. A lot of people are suggesting it's going to be Mo Patel. Indeed, it's his name on the test car, but until that's confirmed, that's up in the air. They've managed to keep Petter Burlak, who was the closest contender to ACR's domination last year. And they've still got Jarl Tien, who raced for him last year, but in a reserve role this year. Why do you think that is? Do you know any background information about that?
I have no idea. It was a brave move. Personally, I would have kept the lineup. Obviously, we don't know what the commitments are. It may have been a driver decision that to step down. Obviously, the Super League seasons are quite long and quite tiring. Maybe he just doesn't have time. I know he does other sim racing as well. He's massively involved in iRacing and things like that on the oval side. So maybe he's moving more into that. Hopefully somebody's around, actually, so we can try and confirm or get some information about it. Yeah, but not confirming that second seat is a bit of a worry, and it could have played into the point of why only one team chose Quasar this year, because of that uncertainty.
You reckon?
Potentially, yeah. The other teams we pretty much knew, or it was either confirmed or we had a good inkling of who was going to be around in those seats to test and develop the engine.
Yeah.
Edge were the only one that just hadn't confirmed anybody. You had to go off guesswork. Obviously, you're always going to put Petter back in the car. You're always going to put Tien in the car. But there's no who's that one in the middle.
Yeah. And this is it. When you have a title challenge to mount, you want 2 drivers that are going to keep given that performance right at the very top, not just for the points, but also to keep the pressure on your rivals.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you've got y'all won a race last season, or a couple of races. Edge overall won, I think it's 6 races or something. Was it last year
6
or something
races,
like that? Yeah. You want to improve on that if you want to challenge, ACR, who we, going from everything, it looks like they're going to be those two challenging, but. You gotta get it all confirmed early so your drivers can get themselves settled into the car, develop the mod a little bit, help out with pre-season, and it's just not been ideal so far.
So if Mo Patel does take the second seat, do you think he's capable of filling that role of supporting Peter Burlak and making sure that they've got that safety net of 2 firm drivers that are going to get top 6s at race in, race out?
Yeah, I think Mo would be a race winner pretty quickly. I'd be surprised if he is confirmed as a second seat. I'd be surprised if he didn't win a race by, let's say, Spain. I'd be surprised if he didn't win by Spain.
One of the flyaways.
Yeah, which is the 5th race of the season. If he didn't win one of those races, I'm very surprised. He's an incredibly talented driver, and Edge is a very well-run team. They did really well on their engine and car development last year.
Definitely,
I'd expect them to be the same. But yeah, if they get him in the seat, and obviously Petter's there, they've worked together previously. I see no reason why they shouldn't be winning races. I think for the title challenge, you're probably going to need out of the 16 races, you're probably going to need to double podium in at least 10 of them to seriously mount a challenge.
Yeah, looking at the points totals last year, I think that's a fair assumption.
Yeah, so I think you're going to need 2 drivers that can, be right up there. Even if they're not on pace-wise top 3, just consistent enough to pounce on if there's any mistakes or, anything like that happen to the top 3.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so obviously more comments would be great. What do you think of Edge's preseason so far? Who's going to get the second seat? We don't know yet. But both me and Ben are fairly confident that if it is Patel or if it's someone else, they should still be right up there, I reckon. Yeah. Good. Right. So next team is a certain Red Bull Street Fighter Racing System.
Oh, is it me? Oh, okay. Right. Get your comments in now,
Ben. Let's give Ben a bit of help. I'm kidding. But yeah, we'd both be very interested to get some comments on Red Bull's situation. Ben probably a little bit more than me, perhaps, but I'll still keep an eye out. So Ben, interesting preseason for yourselves. Obviously, 2018, you just want to forget about that now. That's in the history books. It's been consigned. You're still in Super League for 2019, which is always a good thing. For the grid, it's nice to have your team around still. How's your thoughts going into this season?
Yeah, preseason we've had a pretty good preseason so far. One of our priorities was getting everybody sort of staff and driver wise, getting everybody confirmed early, so that there was no speculation. We could just focus on what we were doing instead of what people were saying. So yeah, getting that confirmed early, getting our engine supply, which we went with Valiant. Thank you, Mike, for the engine and the and the tip. Yeah, it's going as well as can be so far. We've done a couple of tests. We're pretty comfortable with the car. The car feels good. So yeah,
and that's a good lineup again. You've got Florian Guy staying put from last season, and you got David Franchich, who subbed for you, I believe, for a few races last year as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he was full-time driver in 2017 for Street Fighter's debut season in Super League.
Yep.
Stepped away from the car for real life commitments in 2018. Came back for the back end of the season. Wasn't initially in contention for the 2019 seat before we put him in, and when we put him in, he scored points. He lifted the morale of the team. So we couldn't drop him. We were linked with some pretty big names, and David was always the first name on the list. It was a case of if he accepts the drive, it's his. If he doesn't, we'll look at other options. He's also the co-manager as well of Street Fighter, so he always got he was involved in the negotiations with other drivers, and
Nice.
When he said, "I'm going to take the seat," it's like, right, the seat's yours. We'll slap a number on it, and away you go.
Now, David was also hired as the head of media for GPVWC during the off season. How do you think he's going to juggle driving duties and the administrative side of things?
I think he's going to quite enjoy it, actually. I know he did quite a lot of the broadcasting, the Formula Challenge last year, and it didn't affect him at all. He's very good at dividing his time between Streetfighter and GPVWC. He's still incredibly active. Does a lot of testing, gives everybody lots of support. Yeah, he takes it all in his stride. It's quite amazing actually to watch. When I'm struggling around for time on my hands, and I come look at the Discord and there's 150 messages that I haven't read. And 12 hours since the last logged in. So
excellent.
Yeah, he's good here. Taking his stride.
So another move that you made during the off season was. I don't know how to explain it. It's a partnership of sorts with one of the new teams on the grid, well, the returning team, I should say, in Green Stripes Racing. A bit of it's been talked about it already, whether it's just a partnership in appearance, perhaps you're sharing the same sponsor, or whether it's a technical partnership, or whether you're just going to become a 4-car super team. Do you want to try and clear up how that dynamic's working between the two squads?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll try. So the original deal was made back in August of 2018. So still when Green Stripes were in Super Cup. We were going to reveal it at the same time when we released the same cars. Obviously, GPVWC Day happened. New things got released. Both teams ended up in Super League. Contracts were signed and everything, so we couldn't go back on our agreement. We already had the drivers lined up. We already had, even the skin was made before before the end of the year for which we had to scrap. So yeah, we're expecting Green Stripes to sort of stay in Super Cup, but the deal at the moment it's commercial.
Okay.
Obviously they've got a young driver of ours in George in the car, so that's where the branding comes from.
Okay.
It's across all the cars. There is no technical partnership between the teams. They are two independently managed teams. I think the last thing I said to Christoph, the GSR manager, was, "Did you get everything sorted for pre-season and everything? How was your pre-season going?" It's like, just replied, "Yeah, all good." So I didn't even know what sort of engines or anything he was going to go for beforehand. So yeah, it's I know a lot of people have said we look like similar, and obviously we posted it on our social media.
Yeah.
For that, I'm just broadcasting my junior drivers. I'm sure everybody would take a chance at broadcasting their junior drivers if they could.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Their own social media, so share the platform.
Let me put this to you. Say one of your drivers is fighting for the title. It's got down to Brazil. It's chucking it down with rain. And George is running high. He's running, say, 3rd, 4th, something like that. And your guy is behind him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Team orders or not?
Can't be team orders between two different teams.
No?
No, they're free to race. So for this season, George, although he's a junior driver of mine, he's under the management of Christoph and GSR. So, free to race. Go for it.
Very diplomatic of you, Ben. That's not like you. So, okay, last question whilst we wait for some comments to come in. What would qualify as a successful season for you after 2018?
Scoring points before Spa could be a good one.
It's a bit harsh, man.
Well, I mean, we scored points on the first race of 2018 in Melbourne. I scored a 15th place, which was my only point of the season, the first race. So yeah, it's anything above sort of last year. We obviously have where we're aiming for internally. We got a bit caught out with our optimism and things last year, so we're not going to make the same mistake. Yeah, we'll see. We're working hard. We've made our we've made some really good sort of preparations for the new season. New staff members have come in. You know, totally changed how we test and things now. So
okay,
yeah, sky's the limit.
Good. Excellent. So we have got some comments that have come through. So Mike's asking, so Green Stripes is a Super League Lights team, really? Is that fair?
No, they're fully fledged Super League. They've
I mean, Green Stripes have history in Super League as well. They've been in there before, so it's not like they don't know what they're doing.
Oh yeah, they were in there for a long time. Green Stripes, but it's quite funny actually. Green Stripes my first full season in Super League. I was with Green Stripes. Yeah. So yeah, they've been in there for a while. They're a good team. They know how to get things done.
Liam, I think this might have been in response to your clearing of the partnership between you and Green Stripes. He's put press X to doubt. And then Mark's pressed X, Jeffrey's pressed X, Jack Mace has pressed X. You need to scratch up on your politics a little bit more, I think, matey.
It's right. If only Liam had so much support for the rest of the season, it'd be doing all right, I think. Yeah. If you can get as many pole positions as X's and things, I think we'd be doing quite well for himself.
George Sutton saying, I'd take third in Brazil.
I can imagine he would, to be fair. I think, yeah.
You never know, George. that Interlagos rain can strike at any moment. So Mark actually predicts that you're going to finish in the top 3.
I like that, man. I do like that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll take that. We'll take top 3, I think, yeah.
Prize money, baby.
Absolutely. We'll take that. It was an expensive year last year.
Good. Excellent. Yeah, I think you guys will be all right. You've got a lovely lineup. That's a solid lineup. As long as Francic doesn't get too distracted by the media position as well. I think him and Flo, that's a solid lineup you got there. 2 capable drivers of point scores, and definitely an improvement on last year. Hey.
Absolutely. He was in that other car, him in there.
Some guy. Right. Let's move on to the next team, which is MADCAPE Racing Team. I keep saying this on Overcut. I know nothing about MADCAPE because they don't give me anything.
They're a mystery team.
Yeah, I see no activity from them. Somehow, some way, I see nothing from them every time. But they've got a lovely lineup once again. 2 drivers whose reputations are fairly big in sim racing, to be fair. Jerome Creakle and Daniel Brewer. They both raced for MADCAPE last year, so they've got that continuity nailed at long last, which is kind of what you want when you're towards the back end of the grid. And they've also picked up the Quasar engine.
Yeah.
Recipe for success, would you say?
The drivers, definitely. MADCAPE have this habit of doing weird things with their development. Hopefully, they've fixed it. But both drivers have been teammates for a while. I think they were teammates in FSR for a long time as well. One of the is it Origin or Origin teams, I think.
Right.
So yeah, they've been around for a little while together. I think the only question mark, and it sounds really hard, the only question mark about MADCAPE is the managerial side. 2017 they didn't develop the car until race 4 or 5, I think.
Yeah.
When Lee Morris won the car. Last year they developed dirty air for no apparent reason.
For our own entertainment.
Yeah, those, it became a bit of
you can't talk about R&D, mate.
I mean, I ended up with the 6th best car at Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
So, got there in the end. No, it became a bit of a meme, didn't it, in the Discords and things, and over GPVWC, the whole dirty air upgrade. I mean, it was only 9%, but it was completely wasted. So, yeah, and I mean,
but at least they confirmed it as well for us.
Yeah,
there was no doubt after they did it.
Mark's just reminded me, actually, I'd completely forgotten pre-season this year. What's going on there?
Yeah, that's true.
Was it 2 drivers that missed the test in China, and the
I think so.
test driver missed it in?
Yeah, they've
first
already henpecked themselves, haven't they? It's
MADCAPE starting the MADCAPE early is
and that's just another sign of perhaps substandard management. I mean, you see it in terms of no interaction and stuff like that, but you also see it on track as well. They're not organized all that well. I hate bashing on teams, but it feels like I keep doing it with MADCAPE because they don't do anything different.
Yeah, I mean it's puzzling. Pre-season is the point. Even if you just get shout out a message on Discord, people would love to try the Super League cars, especially as they were pretty brand new. They were still in development when the first test started, so people would have had a chance to try a very new car and the top tier car at that. Anybody would have tried it. Stick a Formula Challenge driver in there. Reward the academy winner with a test. Anything, exactly. just to not turn up.
To get that bum in the seat. That's right. I mean, the positive in me would suggest the only way is up. Things can only get better on the management side of thing, and once they nail that, my God, MADCAPE might actually be right up there, sort of thing. They've got, like you said, the drivers potentially to achieve that. So fingers crossed they can sort something out. Whether they need to just hire a dedicated manager from another team or something like that. Maybe have a look at the Super Cup teams if there's a team manager there who fancies giving the R&D side of Super League a go or something like that. There's talent off the track as well, and a couple of teams are guilty of not exploring that side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Like obviously, we spoke about it when we were talking about SRS. Just it's we expanded our off-track team quite a lot to include lots of other roles. More teams have been doing it. Have been doing it recently and been doing it for quite a while. You see people pop up all the time on the GPVWC Discord. I want to get involved in the management side, or I'm an engineer, or I'd like to learn more about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's people literally on your doorstep, ready to take on, and help you with the role. Yeah. Take some of them in. Put them in as a driver if you need to for a test if you're struggling. The lineup is good. The lineup's very good. The engine should be very good. The question marks are around the management for this one.
Yeah. Let's have a look at some of the comments. Dennis Jordan's actually suggesting maybe a breakout year ahead for MADCAPE. So he certainly believes in the lineup. And yeah, it kind of echoes what we just said. Mark, good drivers don't know about management. Mike Pitt. Yeah, upgrade.
Just Mike.
Yeah. And then he goes on to say, still outscored some other teams, even though through poor management.
Yeah, that's a dig me. I'll take that one, Mike. You got that one. Fair enough.
And then finally he says they have brought in Peter Bell, the old Origin front row owner, to manage the team, creates the two drivers of the FSR winning unit. There we go. See, if we actually knew that, then perhaps we could start bigging them up a wee bit and everything like that. But
I'd be interested to know when that appointment was made, because if it was before pre-season,
well,
already off to a bad start, aren't they?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
If it's 2 days ago, maybe I'll let you off. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Good. And Liam, just a quick dig at Queekle saying he's just in it for the money.
Why not?
We all?
Why not? Liam's just jealous. He gets half a salary at whichever team he goes to, so he has to swap off.
It's just gonna keep going the whole episode, isn't it? I'm just gonna sit in the middle between you two. Right then. Mike's confirmed he's not in the role yet.
Ah, well, there you go. Hopefully by the third test they get somebody.
Anyone. Right, let's move on to the next team. Next team is Green Stripes. So one of the new additions to the 2019 grid, returning team, I should say. And we touched on them quite nicely whilst we were talking about Streetfighter. Let's have a look at their lineup, though. It's a mixture of youth and experience. I think Alex Cooper is the most experienced driver on the grid this year, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he is. It's between him and Fidek, isn't it?
Yeah,
they both
right.
around about the same time.
Yeah. So capable pair of hands there. You know what you get with Alex. George Sutton, he did a few races for MADCAPE last year, didn't he?
Yeah, he did actually. Yeah, he did do a couple of races for MADCAPE. That partnership kind of dissolved. But yeah, he's back in the seat. Obviously, one of my young drivers.
And then you're backing him up in the reserve role, Ben.
I am. Yeah, return to green stripes. So my first, back at green stripes after a couple of seasons in a reserve role. It's quite nice actually. It's quite nice to be back in the team you started at.
I need to quickly press you. What happened at the test last time? 15 laps, Ben. 15.
Yeah. So I got in. As I was explaining to you, sort of pre-season, I'm in the middle of moving house, so moving in between different properties. Got in later than I expected, so I got in at 9 o'clock. Booted the Rfactor, and it wouldn't load for half hour, so I missed quite a bit of the time. And then when I did finally get out on track, it kept minimising. So I had sort of one hand on the wheel, one hand on the mouse, trying to bring back up Rfactor quite a lot down the straights. Good job it was showing high, because some long straights to do it. But yeah, it was safer for everybody if I just did 15 laps and got out the server as soon as possible.
So is that going to make much of an impact on the R&D points?
It'll have a small impact, not a massive impact. But obviously, the Alex and George got full laps in, Alex and James Clay, who was substituting for George. They got 4 points in theirs, so they got a fair amount of points between the three cars. It should be okay. So yeah, it won't help.
You know, the cynic in me, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
You know I love you really.
Absolutely.
But the cynic in me is looking at this as the SRS manager has sabotaged the junior team's season before it's even started.
There you go. I had to dispel the rumours of a partnership. So I had to, there you go. If you needed proof it wasn't a partnership,
Christoph, run. I'm kidding.
There's a reason I'm a reserve driver. If I wanted to properly sink the team, I'd go in as the second.
Yeah, true. So going back to the team itself, so they came fourth in Super Cup last year. A respectable season. Probably not what they were quite hoping for, perhaps, but it was enough to get them back into the Super League. Surely, I'm sure their target initially is just to stave off relegation, making sure they're here for a second season on the bounce and stuff like that. But what do you think is their ceiling, shall we say? What would be their uppermost target? What would their potential be?
I think, that's a tough one actually. I think depending on the car, and got Alex, who's let's not forget a previous race winner in Super League. He'd be able to drag some points out of the car. He's a very quick guy. Had a few troubles with Nordgen last year and the car, but he was still able to drag it into respectable points finishes quite a lot of the time.
Okay, yep.
So yeah, a decent car.
Do you think this will revitalize him, this move?
Quite possibly, actually. Yeah, sort of a fresh start somewhere where you'd imagine he's going to be the team leader there. So a team sort of built around him, and he gets to have probably would sort of push the car forward to more his liking and get him going. Yeah, well, why not? It's all the recipes there for him to have a really good season and revitalize himself and get himself back in full back in love with sim racing kind of thing.
And do you think he'll embrace the kind of the tutor role of guiding George through the season?
Potentially, yeah. I hope so. I think it's quite important for George to sort of forget about 2018. Obviously, it wasn't a fantastic showing with MADCAPE, but we had no end of discussions over the pre-seasons, and if he wasn't ready for Super League or didn't have the talent for Super League, he wouldn't be there at the end of the day. I wouldn't put him there. Yeah, it's he's there as one of our junior drivers, so obviously we're going to keep an eye on him and hopefully he can do really well and just learn more than anything. Learn about Super League and the cars and do the best he can.
Good, excellent. Right, let's have a quick look at the comments. Sorry, I'm just quickly doing.
Oh, they're having a go at your order here, mate.
Wait a sec. Who's having a go? Michael Ayres, sacked. So let's have a look. Green strikes to outscore Street Fighter. See, now if that happened, Ben, how would you feel?
I don't know. We're past 9 o'clock, aren't we?
Yeah, man.
Well, probably quite suicidal, if I'm completely honest.
Wow, trigger warning. Quick trigger warning.
If that happens toward Brazil, send somebody around to my house, because yeah. I mean, why not? Anything can happen. Anything can happen. So
yeah, and I just want to quickly give a good shout out to Christoph Lichtenstein. He raced for us in World GT a couple of years ago in the Dodge Viper.
Oh, that was mean.
Yeah, with Florian Engel, and bless them, they tried so hard to get a handle on that car, and it just wouldn't work. And so, yeah, I've always got a little bit of soft spot for those two. So, God bless them, and all the best for the season ahead. Right then, Ben, I think you can take the lead on the next team, because it's mine. It's Epic
is it
Racing.
yours?
Yeah.
Right.
You can start grilling me if you want. I'll let you take the lead on this one.
All right. So yeah, Epic Racing, your team, of course, Lee. Decent season last year, I think we could
solid.
Probably. Would you agree? Solid, if not spectacular. I mean, you
better
got a lucky
than expected.
You got a lucky win in there. Fair enough.
That wasn't lucky, mate. I mean,
no, it really wasn't.
I think Liam will be the first to admit that wasn't lucky. And then Mike.
Yeah, it was a fantastic race. I had to watch it back because I was trundling around in a damaged car at the back. But yeah, so talk to me about your lineup. You've got you've got the scraps of Eval, and obviously your race winner as well.
Yeah, so Jeffrey Fournier is signed to a blood contract with Epic till 2029 or something like that, and then we've got his firstborn son and then his dog as well. So Jeffrey's staying put until we grow sick of each other, at least. Nah, he's a good lad, and I genuinely think, pound for pound, one of the most talented guys out there. So I'm super pleased that we still got him on our books. And then so Boyer didn't see the season out with us, unfortunately, for one reason or another. He's still involved with us behind the scenes a little bit now and again, so the connection is still there. But obviously, he didn't fancy this season, so we needed a replacement. And Right Kilk was actually the first guy we properly approached, sort of thing. He had an season last year, I think, in equipment that wasn't quite up to spec. He seemed like a safe pair of hands. He didn't really get into too many incidents, apart from when he took out our driver in Abu Dhabi.
You still signed him after that, fresh in the memory.
We still signed him, yeah. And he's a lovely lad. He's truly a hard worker. He's a proper grafter, so he's fitted into the team excellently. And there's no looking back, really. I'm really confident that the lineup we have will allow us to press on and try and crack that top three that we just missed out on last year.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to what you said about Right Kilk season last year, top finish of 4th twice. In a car that really shouldn't have been touching the points. No mind, nearly getting the podium in what was that, Japan and Germany. So wasn't a fluke result. Did it twice, and in cars, the cars were quite developed at that point. So
yeah,
struggling to sort of get that car anywhere near pace, but he did it, and fair play. The one question I wanted to ask you actually is, we're hearing rumours about a black livery.
This is amazing that the biggest concern of my team for this off season is the livery. I'm really pleased about that. We're not worrying about drivers, not worrying about R&D. It's the livery. I mean, our test livery's black. I feel like the yellow livery gave us a really strong brand identity in our first season. It made us stand out. and it's not something that we take lightly. We do want to look good when we're winning, but we like to keep it fresh. We like to keep people guessing. So I can confirm the livery's not completely yellow.
Oh, okay. Is it yellow and black?
There's flashes of a color. I'll say this one thing: it's not going to look like the Renault of Formula One. Okay, I promise you that now.
That was my concern when you said you had a brand identity. Anything coming up was red and yellow Renault, and yeah.
Yeah, no, that's the easy assumption to make, and no, we kind of still want to stand on our 2 feet, but yeah, we want to stand out on what is usually a very colourful and very vibrant grid anyway. Yellow isn't really a very common colour anyway. Hawkeye have used it in the past, and Volta's Automotive before they came Edge. So yeah, I think the livery will be one for everyone to get excited about, hopefully.
Any news on when that we're going to have that revealed?
Soon.
Trademark. Soon.
Yeah, no, it's still being designed at the moment. We've got some base designs that Christian Zorner is working on right now. There's no rush. I mean, we still got a few weeks before the start of the season anyway, so we'll stick with our test and livery through our pre-test. And then we'll make a lovely little announcement video for the eve of the Australian Grand Prix, I'd imagine. Obviously, we'll reveal it before the mod gets updated with the livery. That would be a bit of a faux pas, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it will be announced in due course. Once Christian's worked his magic, really. We're not going to delay it or anything like that. Put it that way. We won't keep on tenterhooks that long.
Oh, so last question. What would constitute a good season for 2019?
Well, it's tricky because I'm always a bit more of a realist. I don't tend to dream too much, so I'd be really happy if we keep 4th again. If we're able to consolidate 4th and then really put pressure on the top 3, I'd be very happy with that. It's easy to forget that we are such a tiny unit. We're literally 6 people.
Almost the privateers of Super League, aren't you? Going back to the old F1 days. Pretty
much, yeah. We are the real life Jordan, which harks back to delivery. So I mean, it kind of we're just happy we're fighting up against the big boys, really. We're just happy to be competitive, and as long as we're enjoying the racing, Jeffrey and Wright are putting in the performances that they'd be proud of and stuff like that, then at the end of the day, I'll be a happy boss.
Awesome, yeah, excellent. I think you've got all the tools to go and do that. To be fair, it'd be an interesting one to watch.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, Mike, you dreamed when wanting an engine tenderly.
It's a bit harsh, Mike.
No, I mean, I
next week.
I love Menno, but I was fairly confident in our application. I was fairly confident because we got a name on board for the engine badge, and we had all this great big master plan in place and everything like that. And it just maybe it was just because EDONIS had been around for longer. But yeah, it was a bit of a shame. Maybe next year, if another engine drops out or they need a 5th one, then we'll obviously put in again. But yeah, let's just get racing now. I'm over the engine tender for you.
I'll ask you that again at the end of the show. See if any more bitterness comes out from.
Kidding me. Right. Dennis Shaw said, even some teams working together are less than 6. Well, it just feels like we're a small, close-knit team, especially compared to the semi-pro and pro teams ahead of us. We kind of feel a little bit like David versus Goliath, and we like that role. So we'll embrace it even further. Right then. Are you still there, Ben?
I am. Sorry, I was just reading the comments about the yellow livery that's coming through. So we got distracted by yellow, shiny, and all that.
See, it works. Okay, so the next team is the final new team of the year. I think this is the feel-good story of 2019 so far, really, isn't it? It's YTF1. I don't think anyone begrudges them a spot on the Super League grid. And Matthew Allington, their team owner, he's a great guy, very enthusiastic, and I'm sure he'll be a breath of fresh air on the grid.
Yeah, absolutely. I think YTF1 is sort of the epitome of sticking at it. Started in Formula Challenge, did a couple of seasons there, moved up to Super Cup, did it the right way. They didn't sort of jump the queue or anything like that. They've done it the right way, and finally been rewarded with a top with a seat at the top table. So yeah, they've finally got there. They've got a good driver on board as well, to be fair.
Yeah, and Tobias Olsen.
Absolutely, yeah. I think he can do some good bits. No idea on that second driver though, or the third driver.
No, so Matt Allington's been doing some preseason testing, hasn't he? I'm just trying to find who the other one was actually. But yeah, you're right. It kind of harks back to what we were saying about MEASURIC as well, isn't it? They kind of have that legacy amongst the GPVWC community as a whole. I haven't met anyone who doesn't like YTF1.
Yeah, it's impossible not to. It's similar to what we're talking about with MEASURIC and with Menno. There's some people in some teams that are always going to be that underdog team that you root for, and I think that's why you root for YTF1. It's just a thing that happens. I'm really looking forward to seeing them in their first race, to be fair, at Melbourne.
Yeah, so on the emergency contracts, they had Matt Allington and George Whitehouse.
Oh,
okay.
So
whether George is being lined up for the second seat, who knows?
Potentially an audition kind of thing. Maybe.
Potentially an audition, yep. Obviously expectations can't be too high for YTF1. They've got to be realistic. It's going to be a bit of a baptism of fire, perhaps, for them, especially in the first half of the season as they continue to get to grips with R&D and the amount of practice that's required to be competitive. But second place in Super Cup last year, that's not too shabby at all, considering BASILEA ran away with it in first anyway. They headed what was kind of quite a competitive fight for second place.
Yeah, it's it became the only fight in Super Cup, didn't it? Really, Brasilia just ran away with it. Just went. If you look at the points total, 543, and what did we mention for SCUDERIA? 1,200 and something.
4 digits.
But even running a successful Super Cup team shows successful management and shows dedication and commitment and being on top of the team for the entire season, and that's what Matthew's shown all the way through. All the way through his path up with YTF1. Expectations, like I said, they can't be too lofty. I know Tobias got the fastest lap at pre-season, but it's pre-season. McLaren was second in Barcelona. I would literally eat my own shoe if they finished second at some point in any race.
Right, you heard that, guys.
Record it, play it back to me if it happens.
So EDONIS need to win Melbourne.
Yeah.
Someone needs to get YTF1 on a podium.
Yeah.
We'll get the Holy Trinity done sorted in a moment.
I mean, I heard there's a guy called Alonso who's sort of free at the minute, so maybe that's
you never know.
YTF1 second driver.
Christ.
That'd be a story, wouldn't it?
It'd give some of us a run for the money. Let's have a look at some comments. Sir Necrophile, which I'm not entirely sure about that name. It's a bit iffy. Olsen has a good record of DNFing. This was what I was going to also touch on. You can't doubt Olsen's pace. Tobias Olsen has an excellent level of pace, but he does tend to be a bit shaky, especially when it comes to racecraft, and he does throw it off the track now and again, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he is quick. He's one of those where if that race weekend is going well for him, he's going to be on for a good result. We saw it in ITC last year when he raced for us. He was right up there at points. He had off days, but he was right up there as well. As Jeffrey's just mentioned, actually, around 4% of DNF rate in 250 races on GPV. Probably not a stat that you wanted, but he's got a season.
Yeah.
There's no pressure on him at YTF1 this season. The spotlight's not going to be shining on him.
Yeah.
So he gets to just sink in with that team, and he's got 40 races in Super League. He knows a bit about Super League at the very least. He's going to maybe not be the consistent, but he's going to be quick at points.
And if he's in the team leader role, that might just settle him down a bit. It might just make him take stock a little and think, right, I've got to set the mark here. I've got to lead the team in what could be a very challenging year for them. And that could just settle him down enough just to make him a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, exactly. If he takes up that team lead role, and depending on who comes in, it could be a complete rookie. Maybe nurturing a little bit and using a bit of experience and calming himself down a bit. Maybe not go for the moves that are half on and not diving up the inside kind of thing. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a team to watch, but where expectations are not super high with them, so we can just sort of chill.
Good. Mike mentions that George Whitehouse has an FC primary suit, so he can't race.
Definitely not him, man.
Not unless they buy him out. So yeah, I mean, I don't really know what other names would be floating around at the moment. No one really comes to mind in terms of from last season. I'm just going through the grid, and nothing really sticks out. Do you reckon they might be able to pinch a reserve driver from one of the other teams, maybe?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, they had was it Lingberg last season? He's been around for a while. I'm not sure what he's doing this year.
He is in Super League Lights with Stacks.
So it's not going to be him.
Nope.
And it's not obviously going to be Yannick Bach. And I don't know. There's a few drivers that have raced for YTF1. Maybe somebody will come along. Yeah. They could surprise us with, something like Lucas Oiler or something.
You're mad.
A magical return.
Right. Next team up is Flag to Flag. Now, they were another one of the newcomers last season. Settled themselves in nicely. They got a nice mid-table finish for their first year in GPVWC. Obviously, quite well known from FSR. Would you have qualified the 2018 season as a success for them?
Yeah, I think I would have. It was a solid first season. They surprised quite a few, including ourselves, with just how much they knew. Obviously, they finished 9th in the constructors table, so towards the lower end of midfield. They also stopped development on their car quite early. Towards the end of the season, they had a really, really underdeveloped car compared to the top guys, but were still able to score points. That could have been a tactic. Not spending money on the car for end of 2018, pump it more into 2019. They could have played a blinder. They could have played an absolute blinder.
Yeah, potentially. Well, we are able to bring their team manager in, Cameron Roger. We'll quiz him and see if that's the plan indeed.
Absolutely.
Let's bring him in. Hi there, Cameron.
Hello.
Hi, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Living the dream, mate. Living the dream. Good. So we were just talking about how you may have played a semi-blinder at the end of last year. You slowed down development in 2018, we believe.
Yes, we stopped in Spa, which I think was race 12 out of 18.
So about 2/3 of the way through, yeah. Was that in preparation for 2019, would you say, or was it just the season was done for you guys? You just didn't see any point in doing the R&D anymore, just carry it through and see where it takes you?
It's a bit of both. Our plan from the start was always to have a budget season, because we looked at our finances as a new team, and there's a few extras that you don't carry over, like teams do if they do the season before. So we already knew we were behind, and if we spent all that money, we would just be behind again this year. So we already planned to do a budget season, and then when the season started going, not, we weren't anywhere near the top. There's no point because finishing 6th or 11th didn't really matter for us as long as we didn't get relegated.
Yeah.
So we just kept a really simple season. We stopped the upgrades at a point where we had white and diffuser 100%, and then teams started going to a third upgrade area, but we found that the gain in doing that third area wasn't worth the money for us. And I think that's put us in a good position for this season because obviously we saved a bit. Unfortunately, for instance, Aval, they left, so that's a team that was sort of struggling. But then I guess we got other new teams coming this year, so hopefully there are teams that we're already ahead of, and then we're obviously looking to get up the ladder a bit, bring in Sergi, who is quite a motivated young lad.
Awesome. That's it. Like I said, we played an absolute blinder last season with stopping the development. Talk us through your lineup. Obviously, you retained Michael Ayres.
Yes.
So, I'm sure the community are very happy about that, Mr. Sacked.
Yes. So obviously, Michael didn't exactly have the best season of his career last year, and there was many moments of speculation about whether he'd even finish the season. But all the time, the plan was to keep him, no matter what rumors were going around. He was always in that car. He's very dedicated towards Super League, and it's something that he really wants to do, and he puts in quite a bit of effort off the track. So that's what we need. Obviously, the results weren't there, and we have explained this. So obviously, moving forward, that is something that obviously needs to be improved. But then every driver should look to improve when you get to the next season anyway. And we have full confidence in him moving forward. It was just not his season last year, as it is sometimes. And for the future, Mark took a step back from racing in Super League. So we brought in Sergi Harris, who had a pretty decent season last year with us in FSR. He's been with us for 2 seasons now, and we have quite a good relationship, and it's just quite nice having someone fit in who already knows the team and the guys. And he's also done Super League in 2017. He did a couple of races, so we're very confident on our lineup actually this year.
Excellent.
Good. Yes, very good. Sorry, I disappeared for a moment. I had to feed my cat before he woke up my newborn.
It caught me very off guard. Thank you for the heads up.
Really sorry. So, Cameron, you were just talking about your new driver there. So, heading into 2019, you got a year's experience at GPVWC now. You must be thinking aiming for top 6 in the teams would be a sensible target.
It would. I've got no idea obviously we're aiming to get to the top eventually, but whether we do a big jump this year or whether it goes into next year, we haven't set like a firm target as such, because we just want to continually progress. And the first, starting the baseline, that is just getting in the consistent results, because we didn't quite have that last year, which probably would have got us a bit higher in the championship. So if we can get that sorted, then I think it will come, because even with the car development, Super League is still a lot about the drivers. I mean, the teams obviously have that aspect that can change it, but if your driver's performing, you can be at the top. I mean, you even saw, I think it was Paul Ricard last year where Berliak won. Their car was like mid-pack in the development, but they still had lightning pace because he is obviously one of the best drivers in the league. So if we can get the best out of our drivers, then we will move up the table naturally. and I think that's just a more smooth way of looking at it for us. We sort of got a longer term plan rather than just we want to win this year or whatever.
Yeah. Enjoying GPVWC?
Yes, it's good. I have to say. I mean, obviously, every place has its quirks and things like that. But no, we are we're enjoying it, and we like the challenge that the upgrade system brings.
Yeah,
it's quite a nice little invention, and certainly keeping us happy right now.
good. So I'll quiz you on one last question, which has actually been submitted by Mike Pittman. So you're in for it, I'm afraid. Yeah, sorry, mate. So quickly going back onto getting drivers' performance up to us fulfilling your potential, basically. He has asked. Last year was the same year, so this year is the year they're going to go for it. So if Ayres has a similar poor season to 2018, would he get replaced?
Mike does love to roast.
he gets that spoon and he starts stirring hard, mate.
I mean, as we've seen with other teams, if a driver continually doesn't perform, that is always, an option. It's never out of the question. Obviously, last year was slightly different because there were background issues to why that was happening. We've, obviously had internal discussions and sorted things out and got everything sorted. So, I mean, I wouldn't say this isn't, an absolute, win it or bin it season, as Mike's sort of suggesting there. But certainly, we will be, or we have been, including the bidding process, trying a little bit harder to get further up the grid. And I mean, if drivers aren't performing, then we will have to oversee that. It's not out the question ever, but it's not in the forefront of our mind either.
See, Ben, that's a politician's answer.
Well, it's you want to keep a stable lineup
stable
where possible.
Don't do it.
not even gonna get into
Strong
that.
and stable. Here we go.
Yeah, not even gonna get into that. But we want to keep, because as just like you, we've literally got 5 people, so we're not a huge. I mean, on the GPV side, obviously we race in other leagues where we've got other drivers, but on the GPV side, there's only about 5 people. So we're just sort of working together to improve the Super League team. So obviously, if one driver starts struggling, then obviously we're going to help them. We're not going to just boot them off.
Just throw them out. Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's also other implications to that, because you don't know if the new driver coming in is going to completely get up to speed, because you may have to make a quick decision if you boot someone off after a race. You don't know if they're going to be as dedicated in certain ways or whatever. So, and also in Super League, obviously you have the driver wages. Then if you were to get rid of someone and then sign someone else, you have the signing on fee and things like that. So it's not quite as easy. I mean, obviously for Mike Pittman, ACR plenty of money, so that probably doesn't matter. But for a team lower down, it's not. Yeah. It's not quite as easy just to boot someone off. There are other things you have to think about.
Excellent. No, good. We met in GPVWC Day. I think we both kind of have a similar approach to this. So no, I can appreciate that big time. Good. Excellent, Cameron. Pleasure talking to you again, mate.
All right.
And
thank you very much.
We'll see how your season goes on, yeah?
And you, good luck.
Perfect. Nice one. Good. Right. So we're nearly there, Ben. We've got 5 teams left.
Yeah, now aren't we?
My God, it's been a journey. See if there's been any further comments after Mike's bruising question just then. You see, that's how you answer that type of question there, Ben. Did you take down some notes?
No.
Okay, Mark Huntington says, if Ayres doesn't perform, we'll create a rota where every other team in the league has to supply us with a driver on a rota like the DC.
Ouch.
Sick. Oh, mate. I don't know who Epic would give him.
I thought the pitchforks were put away for a little bit with the DC, but
yeah, that fire's been extinguished, Mark. Jeez. What else? And then, yeah, just the comments about strong and stable. I thought that was quite good. That's my comedy gold for the night. Okay, so next team up is Evolution. Evolution Motorsports. A likable team once again. I haven't seen many people who don't like Evolution. They're managed by Dennis Jordan, who also races. So I think he's the only driver manager in the league, isn't he?
Yes. Yeah. In his own car, essentially. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So that's an interesting perspective that he's going to have, seeing as he'll have to juggle both management and driving duties. He's teamed up with Yannick Bock for the season, who did drive for them for the second half of last year, didn't he?
Yeah, some incredibly impressive performances as well from Bock last season.
Absolutely. So,
yeah.
Giving him a full season this time round, how do you expect them to fare?
Pretty well. If I'm completely honest, there's no sugarcoating it. It should be a strong season. Obviously, they've got links to ACR. They're strong. Evo are strong. Both drivers are really good. Crazy dedicated to the league. Got a win last season.
They did. They snuck that one in at Monza.
If they go any further, is it going to cause issues with racing ACR?
Yeah, this is it.
Are they allowed to do that? You asked me the question about if you're racing for a title win.
That's very true.
So ACR, what happens there?
Well, there's only one way to find out, really, Ben. Let's get the main man in. Let's get Dennis Jordan in for a quick chat. Hello, Dennis.
Good evening.
Hey, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good, excellent. So Ben was just touching on your link up with ACR, which is no secret. We know that you guys.
Which team?
ACR.
Never heard of them.
Anyway, and he was mentioning how if you were both involved in a title fight, you'd still go full hell for leather against them, wouldn't you, Dennis?
I mean, why wouldn't we?
Why wouldn't you?
It's stupid to think that we would slow down for them or anything. I think we are two separate teams. Have some friendships cross over, so it's natural that you work together and you know what the other team is doing. So yeah, but I think there's never going to be something like that we have to let them by, or we are not allowed to attack them. That's just stupid.
Yeah. No, it is kind of more tongue in cheek, try to get a reaction of you.
I got asked the same question, so flip it back.
But so you had a great debut season last year. We know just how hard you worked for that third place in the teams. You must have been chuffed with that, but you must be looking also to go a couple of places better this year. Surely you've got to fancy the title with the lineup you have.
Yeah, it wouldn't really make sense to say, we would want to be lower down this year, so.
God damn it, Dennis.
There's not many places to go forward.
It's gonna be difficult, but yeah, we'll try our best. I mean, we got a win last year, and like winning races is the goal as well, but like winning a championship or being really competitive over a whole season, that has more value to us. So that's what we are going after.
Do you think the 2019 championship's going to be a lot tighter this year? Do you think the midfield are going to close up the gap to Edge and ACR, or do you think it might kind of be a status quo?
I think it's going to be even closer than last year for different reasons. Not only, have we got even more competitive drivers now, but I also think the way the mod works this year, especially in terms of upgrades, doesn't really allow for a lot of separation. So yeah, it's gonna be really tight, and yeah, that's something I look forward to.
Good. And Yannick Bock's been signed on full time for this season. It's a bit of a no-brainer, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Of course, just as we signed him on, he broke his wrist, so he can't drive at the moment. But
oh no, really?
Yeah, but he is fine in a few days or a week or so. So for Melbourne, it's all sorted. Just
excellent.
Yeah.
Good. Have you got anything you'd like to press at all, Ben?
No, obviously it's with Evolution. You know, Dennis, last year you got a win, pushed your way up to third. There's not too much further you can go forward. Like Lee mentioned, the title challenge could potentially be on. You know, which me personally, I hope it is. I hope the season in general is a lot more competitive than last year. I hope everybody sort of gets in there and gets some good results and gets some wins and really makes a fight of it. What would constitute a good? I'll ask the same question. What constitutes a good season for you? What's the sort of minimum expectation?
Third.
There you go.
I mean,
Blunt.
There's only improvement. So yeah.
Okay. I've got a question for you, Dennis. So, of all the drivers that have been announced so far, aside from yourself and Yannick, who would you say are your top 3 drivers on the grid?
I don't think I've made the secret out of it that I think that Peter Burlack is not only in this league but probably across the whole Rfactor 2 platform by far the best driver. So you know, he's on top. Alex is on top. He just, like, even if maybe his pace isn't that great, you know, every race he's at 100%. So he doesn't, you know, have a slow race or a bad race. So that's difficult to beat him. Then the third spot, difficult. There are so many great drivers. Let's see how Patel is doing at Edge. You know, I think he is.
You think he'll be at Edge, do you?
I mean, you don't put the name on the car if he's not driving. So I'm pretty sure he is, yeah.
Good, excellent. So I'll be interested to see what sort of reaction that gets from the viewers. Good. Lovely talking to you again, Dennis. Thank you for debunking all of our questions. Appreciate that one, mate. And we'll see you on the grid in Melbourne.
Yeah, see you. Thank you.
Cheers. Good. Yeah, no, I'm going to ask you that question as well, Ben. Apart from your drivers, obviously, apart from yourself, because I'm sure you rank yourself so highly.
Absolutely, highly.
Who would you say are the top 3 drivers on the grid for 2019?
Of the drivers that we've got confirmed?
Yeah.
Absolutely no particular order. Siebel. I think he's shown last year. Not only is he stupendously quick at every track, he's stupidly consistent. I think he broke Van Buren's record for percentage of wins across the season or something last season.
Yeah, something like
that. Which is impressive. That season that Rudy won, that was domination.
It was literally just disconnects that were his blemish.
Yeah, I think he disconnected. Was it Melbourne, the first race, the second race, and the third race in China? Was it first 3 races he disconnected from? Or first
I think
2?
in Melbourne he was taken out by a back marker who was
lagging. That's right. There's an issue with lag with that. Yeah, I mean, without those connection issues and things, could he have gone on to dominate even further? I mean, Risto's a good driver, and he was lined up against Risto and completely obliterated him at a lot of races. And Risto's one of the best drivers in sim racing for my money. So I think you've got to throw Peter Burlack in there as well. He does so much on the Rfactor 2 platform, and just in sim racing in general. And he's always there. He's always in or about the top. And he switches from mod to mod and league to league, and he's still up there. That's pure talent. There's if he stuck to one series or one mod, he could absolutely dominate. But I just think it's in his nature to want to be competitive in every competition, and he smashes it. Third, I don't know. There's quite a lot. I think you can rate quite a few drivers quite high.
Yeah, I think the first 2 are the easy ones, aren't they? I think Siebel and Burlack. Yeah, they're just a little bit of a cut above the rest at the moment, aren't they?
I think for my third, and I know we spoke about him quite a lot on the Overcut actually, is Fredek.
Yep.
I think it's Friday. Obviously, last show he was linked with every team on the grid.
Everyone.
We finally have him confirmed. But no, if you go back and listen to interviews of last year in particular, with David, he said, give me a car and I'll be up the front. He's got that car this year. He's got a perfect benchmark in Seaball. He's Mr. Consistent. He's breaks all kinds of stats for consistent podiums and finishes and things. He's got the car. He's got a perfect benchmark in Seaball. He's going to have a great engine. They're going to be competing at the top. Let's see. Arguably the two best you see at the moment. Go for it. That's what I'm personally looking for. That's going to be crazy. But I'd have to put him up there as one of the top three.
See, I Fi looks very good, but I think Dennis Jordan just edges it. I like Dennis Jordan a lot. He's a very capable pair of hands.
It's a tough one because you've got so many good drivers. Mashudi as well on there. It's Fournier's making a case from last year's results. You've got Brewer, you got Brewer and Queekle on there. We know are talented.
It's a stats grid, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is quite an astonishing grid that we've got so far, and could get even better with Edge's number 2 and YTF's number 2. So let's watch this space. Okay, next team is Hawkeye. Now, Hawkeye, kind of similar to YTF1, they're kind of a fan favorite. Nobody really dislikes Hawkeye and Rick Scott's efforts for the community. The team, there or thereabouts, I think they probably hit their target. It's probably fair to say last year they got 5th place in the teams. They got a podium out of it as well. I believe it was Ricardo Costa. Was it France or Canada? Canada. It was Canada, wasn't it? Yeah. They run the Talos engine units. They've got that on their side as well. They've got a sensible lineup as well. Liam Duval, very quick indeed, and Ricardo Costa, just as quick, to be fair. I think this is probably one of the more even lineups on the grid.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be one of those who's the number one in that sort of equation. Not just in team status, but in performance. It's going to be an interesting one. Ricardo Costa, obviously, he had some incredible results last year. The car probably wasn't, or probably shouldn't have been podium capable. But he got it there. Obviously, they swapped in Duval halfway through. If he stays a full season, he can do some great work at Hawkeye. It's he's shown he's quick in stages. Hopefully, he bounces on from last season, and those two drivers in that lineup in that car with that engine. There's not a lot to really suggest they're going to slide away massively. So you'd expect them to at least keep around sort of 5th-ish, depending on how tight the midfield is. It looks like we just mentioned. It's a stat grid. And there's a lot of very good drivers in some teams that you'd naturally put a little bit lower down than the top 2. So, we could be in for some surprises for next season, I think.
Yeah. So we're going to go on to kind of team manager discussion for a little bit for this part. So with Liam Duval, a driver who's very fast. There's no dispute in that, and he's exceptionally good at defensive driving. But there's always that little question mark over the commitment issue, especially from last season. From your point of view as a team manager, is that worth the risk? Would you fancy a driver that you think might need a bit of man management, perhaps, which might be unfair, might be fair, but would you think he's fast, so as long as we can keep him in the seat, that's great? Would you be okay with the idea of putting that sort of trust in someone?
A really good question, that, actually. I can't really say too much because I kept myself in the car when I was underperforming. That was a conflict of interest. If I'm speaking purely from a managerial sort of standpoint, I think it's worth the risk up to a point. And I think, although there may have been times where he was close to that point last season, for me, he didn't tip over that point, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I mean, once he went to Hawkeye, he had some fantastic results.
And do you think that that might be because Rick Scott's management? Do you think he was able to nurture Liam? Perhaps he was able to just give him the stability, perhaps Storm couldn't offer because of their management issues at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, it could have been all Rick. It could have been a combination of Rick and Ricciardo, and that's why they've kept that lineup. Maybe they instantly hit it off and were able to bounce off each other. I kind of got the impression last season that Liam was kind of on his own at Storm doing all the work, because when Liam went, Storm just dropped
exactly. They disappeared, didn't they? Yeah.
So maybe Liam was the only thing holding him up, and maybe it was a little unfair to judge Liam on his Storm performances. I know he had some really good performances with Storm, but going to somewhere at Hawkeye where you can more consistently perform at the level you should be, maybe that's why we saw such an upturn towards the end of the season.
Yep. Good. I think you're right in terms of Hawkeye's potential for this year. I think consolidation should be their target. If they get 5th again, I think that would be a success. But that midfield is just so tight, isn't it? You got 5 or 6 teams that could easily be 4th, could easily be 9th. It's astonishing just how tight that midfield is going to be this year, I think. Let's have a quick look at the comments. We haven't checked in that for a little while. So Liam's actually saying, going back to the previous discussion about top 3 drivers, I think Dennis mentioned about Burlack being the best driver on the Rfactor 2 platform. He's saying Burlack greater than Rudy Van Buren, Super League champion 2017, world's fastest gamer 2017.
Van Buren doesn't count anymore. He's a professional driver. No, good.
Ooh, there we go. That's been decided there, Liam. Doesn't count anymore, mate.
Actually, Dennis has just put a comment in about Tom Parker. Tom Parker is a guy I've got a lot of time for, and I think so as a community. Tom Parker's a cracking bloke.
Good job, Dennis. Well remembered. He is so fit. Ah, Jesus. As if his ego doesn't need to get any bigger.
Yeah.
Right then. So we're down to the final 3 teams now. We got one who was at the back last year. We got one who was in the middle last year, and we got one who were at the top. So that's worked out pretty well, hasn't it? This random generator actually came out trumps. So we're going to start with the team that finished in the middle of the pack last year, and that's Red Archer. A great team, steeped in history of Super League. I think they're now that Nordson has left, I think they're the longest remaining team, aren't they? They've been there for the longest.
Yeah, by quite a way, I think it is now. Yeah.
And they've got pedigree as well. They've won the Drivers' Championship in the past with, was it Jim Parisas? Perhaps back in the early 2010s.
Oh, that's before my time.
That's before our time.
Your age.
But anyway, Nikos, their team manager, he's an excellent team manager. I've gotten to know him very well over the last year. Extremely well technically minded. It's fair to say a bit of our success last year was down to the work that he did with our drivers. So kudos where it's due. They've got not completely rookie lineup, but a lineup that's never done a full season of Super League, I believe.
Yeah, so I was just checking it. It's 2011 when Red Archer won it.
Still
before my time.
Same.
Yeah, it's the lineup. Obviously, going from last year where they had, a
13 drivers.
Yeah, you want to have 2 that are consistent. They've got 2 good drivers, obviously. Fabio did a couple of races with them last year.
Yep.
Matthias, I believe, was signed initially as a Super Cup driver for this season, and then got upgraded to a full-time Super League driver. So they've obviously seen something. He's obviously looking for 2 committed drivers, and they got one of your guys as a reserve. So
they have, yes.
There you go.
Ryan Elliott. So he won ITC 2 last year.
He did indeed, yeah.
I'm not going to go into that too much detail. You on the receiving end of that.
Yeah, I was there to watch it.
Yeah, but yeah, no, lovely young lad. I'm sure he's got a bright future ahead of him. He's been snapped up as their reserve driver, which is should be one to watch. Hopefully, as when he finds his feet, and I'm confident he'll blossom quite well. But yeah, Fabio Sixter last year, the couple of races he did for Red Archer were extremely impressive. I remember he qualified really well in Spa, I think it was, before he disconnected. I think he qualified 6th or something like that.
Yeah, he disconnected on the formation lap, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah,
I think he had a couple of issues with the connection.
Yeah. But then Abu Dhabi, he survived, and I think again it was a top 7 finish. Was it 7th? Something like that. So I think the potential's there for Fabio Sixter if his connection stays true, and he enjoys the mod and he gets his teeth into it. I think Red Archer might have a driver for the future there.
Yeah, you'd hope so. It's I'd really like to see Red Archer do well. Nikos gave me my first chance as a test and reserve driver in the 2014 season. So yeah, big shout out for him. He's a super nice guy, and he really knows how to run a team. Just got a bit unfortunate with drivers. If his 2 drivers stick, and I think that has to be his aim, trying to keep them to stick and consolidate 7th in what we've already discussed is going to be a crazy mid pack. If they can do that, around that 7th, 8th, 9th sort of bracket, you'd hope so. Yeah. It is a bit of a risk going with a pretty new lineup, but it could work wonders. It could be a masterstroke, or it could sink them. You just never really know until you get to Melbourne and see what the pace is like, and then maybe a couple of races after that to really confirm the order.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, early indications, having a look at them pre-season, I think they're going to remain under the radar for a little bit, and then come Melbourne, we'll see what they're made of. And they got a Valiant engine again as well, so they don't have to worry about that side of things either. They can purely concentrate on bringing their drivers up to spec and making the car suit them as much as possible.
Exactly, that could be a massive stroke, that Valiant engine. If it's as competitive as everybody expects it to be, stick a competitive engine in the back of the car. You don't have to worry about developing it. Just focus on your drivers, get them comfortable.
Correct. Excellent. Right. So for going full steam ahead, we're going to crack on with Storm Racing. Bit of a controversial one here, Storm. I think a fair few people probably expected them not to be on the grid this year, which was probably a fair assumption. Not the most ideal season, both on and off the track. Similar to MADCAPE, we don't really know what their situation is behind the scenes or in the driver's seats either.
Yeah, it seems a little slapdash, I think. With I mean, we've got on the slide that Emmanuel Gisela runs the team, but I haven't personally seen them around for 2 years now, I think, since he was driving. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what's going there. Obviously, somebody's managing it because they went with the engine tender and things. But
I mean, last year's Christian Zorner had a hand in it. Whether he was full-time managing it or not, I'm not entirely sure, especially on the R&D side of things. And again, a question mark over this year as well, whether he's still involved or whether he's backing off because stacks are in Super League Lights now. I'm not entirely sure what the situation is with him. But they've got drivers signed to contracts in Vinicius Ranieri and Ricciardo Pellegrini, who I'm just going to mention both surnames of football managers.
Yes.
just twigs there. So they have got 2 drivers signed, but we haven't actually seen them in pre-season testing. They've got the Reventon engine, so there's a slight dilemma over whether they'd be all too involved in the R&D of that engine as well. Their 2018 result was poor. I mean, there's no 2 ways about it. They scored 57 points over the entire season, which that doesn't cut it, does it?
No, it doesn't cut it. And I think if you look at where they scored those points, going back to Liam, it was off the back of him.
I mean, that's 18 points right there.
Yeah. So how bad would they have been without those points. Yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, I'm going to stick my neck out. I think I mentioned this whilst we were doing a bit of chat pre-show today, that I can't see Storm seeing the whole season through. I think the wheels are just going to fall off the wagon, and that's it. And it's a shame, because it's never nice seeing any team fall apart like that. I'm not filled with confidence for them.
Yeah, I share a similar sort of sentiment. I was surprised to see them back on the grid. I thought the wheels had already fallen off, if I'm completely honest. Yeah, I'm
but
not
fingers
100%
crossed.
sure.
They might turn it around. They might show up at the next test and be fully committed again. We might know exactly what's going on. Manuel might make an appearance and just explain the situation as a whole, what the plan is moving forward, perhaps, and we'd all be better for it. Because we like to know that all of our teams in Super League are in a rich vein of health. We like to make sure that they're enjoying the league and the community. So yeah, it's a bit of a shout out to them. Just make yourselves known.
Yeah, I'm sure Mike's gonna have a go at them as well on scrutiny if things do start to go wrong mid-season.
Yeah, he won't hold back.
So yeah, let's hope they're prepared for it, and let's hope it's just sandbagging in pre-season. I hope, for their sake. I hope.
Right then, so we'll leave that there for Storm. We don't want to bash on them too heavily, because they are in Super League and they are here to race, I'm sure. So fingers crossed they make a good go of it. So we're going to finish with the reigning champions. We've saved arguably the best till last. In Mike Pittman's mind, at least. It's ACR Zach Speed. It's hard to argue after the season they had last year that they were the best on the grid. There's no shame in admitting that. They've retained their champion driver in Alex Siebel, and they've partnered him with what was highly regarded as the fastest free agent available during the off season in David Fidek. What do you think?
Yeah, it's tough to admit, but they were probably the best last season. No, Mike's a good manager. He's proven his quality time and time again. He built a good engine, built a good car, signs some good drivers, manages some some big egos as well in that team, and keeps it all squeaky clean, and we never hear anything bad coming out of ACR. Signing David alongside Alex, that's going to be one hell of an interesting lineup. I really want to see how those two get on, and want to see them battling each other, because I think that's going to be fantastic. We didn't really see Alex do a lot of work last year. David obviously brushed up on his wheel-to-wheel racing in the sort of mid-pack and lower sort of podium end last year.
Refined his technique, shall we say?
Yeah, just brush up on it a little. Make sure blow the cobwebs away, because when he was in his prime, he was leading races from the front as well. So you have to do it. It's going to be an interesting dynamic between those two.
Do you think Fidek will pose more of a challenge to Siebel than Capit did?
I think consistency-wise, absolutely. I think we saw Capit have I call it a nosedive in results, but I mean we're still talking about
for his standards, perhaps. Yeah.
We call it a nosedive, and he was still picking up like fourth and fifth. I think he got one result outside the top 10 all season. But he did kind of like slip downhill slightly, which kind of almost gave the championship to Alex. I don't think David's going to let him get away with it like that. We've already missed the consistent. He may have quiet races, but he's always there. You look at he's always there.
And you can never doubt his determination, can you, with Fidek? He never calls it quit or anything like that. If things aren't going quite his way, he'll make damn sure that it doesn't stay that way.
Yeah, I mean, perfect example of that was pre-season test actually in Monaco last season. Me and David came together on a Monaco test, on a Mexico test last season, and he did like 60 laps with I think it was like 3 wheels and no front wing. So came together, think about it. That's even in pre-season test where it's pretty acceptable just to pit in and go out and start again, chalk it up as a bad run kind of thing. But no, totally my fault. I lagged, crashed into David. He kept on going.
Magic.
Yeah, I rate David really highly, and I rate Alex really highly.
Good.
In that car, go for it.
We're fortunate tonight, Ben, in that we have 2 of ACR Zach Speed's Holy Trinity in Mike Pittman and David Fiduk. So we're going to bring them both in, and we're just going to have a little chin wag with them quickly, see how they're feeling as the season gets to a start. Let's bring them in and see what they have to say. Hi there, David.
Good evening.
And hi there, Mike.
Evening. Thanks
How
for
are we
having me on.
both today, gentlemen?
Getting sleepy. We've got obviously the headline slot by the sounds of it.
Yeah, well, we were always going to save you guys to last. We want to get you a little bit delirious so we can get some juicy gossip, perhaps.
I think we've got more of a bedtime story. I think that's kind of what we're here for.
No. Anyway, so season's fast approaching. We're already halfway through pre-season. David, how are you settling into ACR? How are you finding your experience there so far?
Very good. The kick up the backside I needed after the last season, I think. Very nicely welcomed into the team by everyone, and being given a lot of getting lists every other day of things to test and what to do, and always on with someone testing, so it's really good so far. Yeah.
Good. And Mike, would you say David's settling in nicely, meeting expectations?
Meeting expectations, yeah. I mean, proof is when you get racing, isn't it? But yeah, all signs point, that it should be a good season again. It's very hard to tell at this stage, isn't it? Everyone just does the best they can, and until you rock up and find out that Epic somehow blast everyone away in Australia, you don't really know where you stand, do you? So yeah, but I've got faith. David's proved it over years. Unfortunately, not in my teams, but he's proved it anyway. So hopefully, he can bring that in to my teams as well. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. How are you finding working with Alex so far, David? Different cut above the rest, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious he's no slouch. But yeah, we're pushing each other well. It's nice to know the worries of last season are not carried over this season. It was mainly car that slowed me down, I guess. No signs of that so far this year. So, yeah, he's pushing. I'm pushing. That we're all working hard together, and yeah, like Mike said, it points to a good season.
And Mike, I trust David and Alex are free to race.
As always, I've never had team orders in my teams, and if they decide to do anything themselves, towards the end of the seasons, that I hire drivers that know their own worth and know the team's worth and know what's best for them. I'm not here to, trying
babysit.
Babysit is what I was looking for there, really, and our sponsors agree with that as well. While I'm here, thank you to Zach Speed and ISIMOS.
Hey.
Got to put them in there for their continued support for us into 2019 as well. It's a great year last year with them on board and all the drivers. I know we're bigging up David here as well, but the whole team last year worked particularly well together, was incredible. I can only see David fitting in just as well this year.
Ben, I'll ask you a question. So wins are probably a given for ACR, but what's it going to take for them to lose the title? Do you think it's theirs to lose, or do you think another team has the potential to topple them?
That's a positive question, isn't it, Ben?
Yeah, that's yeah. I don't know. I think you're not going to get a lack of commitment from ACR. I think that's pretty, that's a given. They're going to be one of the most committed teams on the grid. So you're not going to give them, you're not going to have them giving up halfway through. You're not going to have the drivers giving up through. I'm of the opinion it's their championship to lose, personally. What it takes for that to lose, maybe bad luck, maybe I don't know, Alex disconnecting from 10 races, and you know, David's cat jumping on him at an inopportune time, and you know, clutching at straws. Really, I think
this can be arranged.
You stay away from that German internet provider.
I think we saw even last year, didn't we? I mean, Alex had a couple of spoke about, and he still won the title comfortably. So there's not going to be a lot to stop them. I think other teams have to step up more than ACR slip up for that, for them to not take the title.
I would say that the league is stepping up in general. Like all the you can see as you've gone through this whole thing, so many teams are stepping up that we do have to keep, you know, moving forwards all the time. I think it's an incredible league in that respect, in that actually, you know, we are turning up to race one where people can really spring surprises. So yeah, I'm loving the fact that that's happening. It's great competition, and you know, that's why we brought David in as well next to Siebel. 2 world champs.
So David, what would, I'm trying to figure out how to word this question here without being too negative.
Wow.
What would, I mean, it's got to be title or bust for you, hasn't it?
Does it?
No?
Before retirement or death? What?
No,
he could be here for many years to come. What's the?
Yeah, no, but for this season at least, anything less than the title is a disappointment, perhaps.
Did you not watch last year?
Yeah, but you've got the best car from last year, perhaps at least, in a super competitive team with the technical know-how, the support behind you and stuff like that. You got to feel confident in you'll at least be challenging for the title, if not having a fair crack at it.
I have belief in my own abilities. Like Mike was just saying, you look down the grid, there's not one team you can look at and say, oh, they're easy beat. The grid is so much closer this year. Like Dennis was saying earlier, the mod is even closer this year than before. So, well, I would not be here if I didn't think I could win the title, but you've got to be realistic and also, you know, look at what happened before and, you know, stepping stones, you know.
Good.
Yeah. I haven't got a cat to jump on me either, so.
I'll buy you one. I'll buy you one.
There we go. See the sabotage. This is lovely, isn't it? Good. Excellent.
Does the cat come with a Red Bull logo on its back?
I mean, that can be also rearranged. Shave it in.
Everything else does nowadays.
Like that. Brand awareness.
Yeah, very good indeed. Excellent. I think that wraps it up nicely, to be honest with you guys. I think that's a really nice note to finish on. All the best for the season ahead. Don't just peg back a little bit, perhaps, yeah?
You keep doing what you're doing, we'll keep doing what we're doing.
Okay.
We'll see where we end
that's
up.
A diplomatic answer. That's,
but no, thank you guys for doing the show. I know it's quite a long one this time, so yeah, you know, nice and consistent. Good work. Great having us on at the end as well.
Yeah. No, thank you for sticking around as well. I know it's a late one.
Yeah, that was a 2-hour wait for 3 questions. Thanks. Love you all.
Yeah, but they were the best 3 questions, weren't they? Good job, guys. Nice one. Take care.
Cheers.
Good. Right. So that's all the team's done, Ben.
It is. God, that was
amazing. It's before midnight.
I know. We're gonna have to start dragging it out a bit if we're gonna have
these 9:30 starts. I get used to these. Right. So me and Ben were talking a little bit over the last couple of days, and we decided we'd make a nice little prediction of how we think the team standings will look. We did a little comparison against our predictions as well. So we'll keep these for the end of the season, but we'll show you what we think the season will pan out like. So these predictions are obviously as unbiased as we can be, considering we both have a team in Super League. But it kind of makes for interesting reading, Ben.
Yeah, I think we're a lot closer than I expected our predictions to be.
So we both agreed on the eventual champions.
Yep, we both agreed that at the top.
The eventual team to finish last, and my team. Echoing the whole, we're so unpredictable, people are so looking forward to our livery of all things. My God, we live up to our name good and proper.
Interesting though, you used a yellow line, so...
Oh yeah, I based it on 2018 skins. I don't think Scuderia BASILEA could be green for all I know. But anyway, do you want to talk us through your list first, and then I'll go through mine afterwards?
Yeah, absolutely. So ACR, we were just talking about. I predict them as number one. Like I've been saying, I think they're the team to beat for this season. Second, probably not a surprise. Edge. They challenged last year. They've got the equipment, hopefully, to challenge this year. We'll see. I know they haven't had the greatest preseason, but I'm pretty sure they're going to get it right. I won't talk about third.
You're being very modest, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, I could have put myself on. I could have put ourselves up there, but no, I thought I'd give the rest of the group a chance. So yeah, we can't go much worse, and obviously, it may be a lofty ambition, but I think we can, if we get everything right with the drivers we have, with the engine we have, it's if you can come out around that sort of area, happy days. If not, then it's still an improvement on last year. Fourth, both gone with Epic for fourth. I think, like we've been saying for a lot of teams, consolidation is key. You taught a couple of Super League teams how to do things last year when you came in. So keep innovating. You've got the drivers. Pick up, maybe 2 wins this season.
Oh, that's
what I'm going to be predicting.
Lovely.
So yeah, this next one we did actually split quite a lot on. EDONIS. I wasn't expecting quite a big of a split. We mentioned from sort of 3rd to 9th could be.
I was going to say this is kind of it's a prime example of how muddled the midfield could be.
Yeah, it gets messy. It does. It does get messy. The next one, I've got Evo, which is a bit of a surprise. I know we're just talking to Dennis, and obviously he's looking at 3rd. We split quite a lot on this one as well.
We did, yeah.
It may seem like a strange sort of prediction. I give my ideas on it. I think Evo had such a good year last year, and the grids improved such a lot this year. I don't think they're going to be able to consistently pick up the high scores that they did last season. I think with the drivers and the teams that are naturally going to be around them, I think it's going to be a bit more of a struggle to pick up those strong, consistent points. So that's
it's
not inside the drivers or anything, but yeah, that's where I think Hawkeye. We also were kind of similar.
Yes,
7th
we did.
and 8th. Again, depends on how they get that team dynamic working.
Yeah, it is so tight.
I mean, I'd like to do an Overcut show at the end of this screen and see where we went.
Yeah, absolutely.
What actually happened, because it's going to be crazy. So Red Archer, again, anything could happen in that midfield.
It's crazy.
I predicted Flag to Flag to come to sort of stick around 9th. I think they had a solid sort of season last year. Kept the car upgrades to a minimum after to nothing after Spa. I think even if they do go ahead and develop further this year, the cars that are around them are all going to be developing the same. So you're going to have a lot of drivers that are very similar on pace, a lot of cars that are very similar on pace.
Yep.
And it's going to come down to a strong result here, consistent results the next couple of races, a strong result here, similar for pretty much all of the mid-table teams. Green Stripes.
Yeah, you've put them as the best newcomer.
Yeah. I think they're just slightly better equipped in terms of Super League experience with Cooper.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think the Scuderia BASILEA guys are going to struggle it's for pace at any point. I think it's going to be a case of
right place at the right time, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think it's maybe just a little bit inexperienced with Super League more than anything. I know they've done a couple of races between them in Super League, but doing a full season is something completely different. It's a whole new ball game. So I'll put them there. All the new teams are pretty sort of close together. I expect them to have sort of steady but unspectacular season. Same with WTF1. Providing they get a second driver in who's consistent.
Yeah. Avoid relegation.
Yeah, exactly. I think if you offer them a 12th place now, probably would take it because it is something that's there. It's a good foundation to build upon for next year. Interestingly, that we both highly rate the MADCAPE drivers, but they're both near the bottom of our list.
Yeah, I'll touch on that when I go through mine.
I've mentioned my reasoning with when we had the individual discussion on MADCAPE. I think it's going to be the management that are going to let them down.
Yeah,
MEASURIC, I think not so much the management's going to let them down. I think it's going to be that second seat that's going to let MEASURIC down. I think Dino's going to do a great job and pull that car higher than it should be at points.
Yeah,
but it's going to be tough to do that consistently. And as we mentioned with Storm, I'll put them at Plum.
We've agreed on that. Yeah, that's it.
So we're both in the same sort of signs from them.
It's just not looking good. Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, I think we've kind of got the same sort of tiering almost, haven't we? We've got ACR right up to the top. You can say Edge will be up right there as well. I've put Evo there as well. I have a funny feeling that they're going to take that step needed to really get into the title fight. I just have a good gut feeling about them. They were, in the second half of last year, they were completely on it, and we just couldn't keep up with them. Yeah, I've put ourselves down as fourth. Just boring old Epic now. We're just going to be there.
You are the Arsenal of Super League now.
I know.
All the way through.
No. Oh, God. That hurts. I've put Red Archer fifth. Now, we have slightly disagreed on Red Archer, haven't we? To an extent. But this is where that midfield cluster begins in my head.
Yeah.
So I think the top three are in a league of their own. We're in no man's land. And then you've got probably the next 7 or 8 teams. Red Archer, your team, Scuderia, BASILEA, Hawkeye, EDONIS, flag to flag. They could go in any order, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I could have put them in alphabetical order, and it looked right. So, in that regard, I kind of just thought, I mean, the technical side of things is so important, and Nikos is so good at that side of things that I think that'll just help the rookie lineup just edge it. Just edge it. They won't get wins, perhaps, but they'll get solid points, maybe the odd podium. I think you guys are going to bounce back nicely. You've got 2 drivers who are capable of scoring decent points. I think that's what you need, really. Just get your feet back on the ground, get those foundations built, and then 2020 is when you start taking the next step up again.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Let's hope so.
I really rate Scuderia BASILEA to come in as a new team and pull a Evo or Epic and kind of surprise everyone early on. I think they'll come out of the doors very strong, and then as the season goes on, it'll start to catch over them a bit. Their budget's going to be tight, for example. They'll slow down R&D. They might not necessarily have the experience behind the scenes to get the job done. They're tied up with ACR. I don't know how deep that is, sort of thing. Whether they can rely on that much, I'm not entirely sure. Hawkeye, yeah, year of consolidation for them. I can't see them going down too far. I can't see them going up at all either. EDONIS is the biggest disagreement between us, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So I think they'll do better than they did last year. They'll be more consistent for sure. But I don't think their ceiling's quite there just to edge them above the teams ahead of them. I mean, they could perhaps take a couple of scalps, and maybe get a couple of headline results. But I think it'll be a year of learning the engine side of things, a year of just getting that foundation like yourselves for a full tilt in 2020. Flag to flag, same story as Hawkeye. Really, they're there or thereabouts. They haven't improved, but they haven't got worse. So I think they're going to be mid to low points most races. And then you got Green Stripes, MEASURIC, YTF1. I think they'll all be very close for different reasons. Green Stripes has the experience with Alex Cooper. He's a reliable pair of hands. He'll get them some decent points when the opportunity presents itself. MEASURIC, like you said, they're relying on their lead driver more than any other team, really. As much as we love Wopke, Dino's just that extra level above, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just a cut above, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. YTF1, like I said, just avoid relegation, Matt. Just avoid relegation. Get yourself that second year. Everything becomes a little bit easier. You get that year's experience, and then you can start pushing on. And then I've got the two teams with managerial issues at the bottom, because I still firmly believe the management side of GPVWC is so underrated. You need a decent manager to succeed. I'm not blowing my own trumpet here, I promise you. But I firmly believe everything starts with good management. You can sign a good driver from anywhere. The drivers on the grid this year are all so good anyway. You put, say, a Dino Paolini in an Edge, he's going to do well.
Yeah,
There's no two ways about that. And so those two teams, despite MADCAPE's lineup, if they're mismanaged, if the R&D's off, if they lose enthusiasm and they don't regain it, where are the points going to come from?
Yeah, that would be my concern.
Yeah. And then, Storm, like I was saying earlier, if they make it through the season, that'll be a tick in the box sort of thing. But yeah, candidates for relegation, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I think like we said, we're both kind of expecting the wheel to kind of come off Storm's wagon. Hopefully we're proved wrong. I'd
love to be proved wrong. Yeah, absolutely.
But on the evidence given, obviously we got to present what we see, and at the minute that's kind of all I see with Storm, unfortunately.
Good. So we'll keep hold of this, and obviously we'll look back at the end of 2019 and be proved completely wrong, I'm sure.
Absolutely. We were proved wrong with the driver predictions, so that's we were proved massively wrong with the driver's predictions.
Yeah. So our form is not great. Don't rely on this too much. I know Dennis Jordan has already posted up in the GPVWC Discord, so we're going to get flamed for the rest of the night. I'm certain of it. But it'll be fine.
It gives everybody something to talk about.
Exactly, because it's pre-season.
Community engagement is massive. There we go.
Excellent. So that just about wraps up the show. We've got just one more thing I'd like to touch on, and that's the Sim News TV. They help make this happen, sort of thing. They helped us right at the very start. They continue to support us all the way through. They've given us hints and tips along the way. They've given us all the support we could ask for, and so it'd be rude of us not to mention that they have a patron set up. It's not easy, and it's certainly not cheap to do this sort of stuff. And we do it for the love of sim racing, but obviously we could always do with a little bit of support every now and then. So if you do wish to get involved, the links on the address, I should say, is on the screen there. Give it a little look if you've got anything, chip in a little bit. That'd be greatly appreciated. And we've also got, Ben, look at this. We've got a patron community member of the month.
Way. I did not know about that. That's a complete surprise to me.
And it is Chris Shepherd. Good old Sheppy, a good friend of Epic Racing, so I'm chuffed it's him as well. I didn't have any inkling on this, by the way. I promise you, I had no bearing on this whatsoever. So thank you very much, Chris, for your support, and long may it continue. But no, I hope everyone's enjoyed today's show. Have you enjoyed it, Ben?
I have. I've really enjoyed it, actually. We should probably stop making it a month in between Overcut.
Well, this is it. The season is now gaining momentum, isn't it? And so as it continues to push forwards, especially once the racing starts, we'll have a show after every race, get that immediate reaction whilst the emotions are still running high. maybe get some juicy gossip along the way, sort of thing. Hey. Let's just hope. I mean, our predictions suggest that Epic and Red Bull are going to be close this year.
Yeah, I mean, by the end of the season, we may not be friends.
We might not be. Excellent. Always been a pleasure, Ben. Thank you very much again for joining me on this merry ride.
Thank you for having me. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Yes, excellent. I hope you all enjoyed it as well. Thank you all for getting involved, and thank you for the interviewees for giving us some content. Big thank you to our producer as well, Dan. He's the guy who's been clicking through the slides despite not knowing anything about the championship, bless him. But kudos to him for hanging around and making sure this all happens, and we look semi-professional.
Yeah, we should actually mention that we dropped these slides on a day as well.
Yeah, literally today. It was like, Dan, there's 17 slides here, mate.
So yeah, top work for that. Thank you for that.
Kudos.
About you, and makes us look professional with our work. And thank you so much.
Bless you. Excellent. All right, guys. Till next time, take it easy, and we'll see you on track and on Discord and everywhere else. Goodbye.